I've been all across this country.
Okie dokie, folks, and welcome to Monday Night Shaw. This week on the podcast, I've got the Canadian Crusher, AJ Sanchez from Winnipeg. AJ, how are you doing, brother?
I am fantastic, man. Thanks for having me on.
No problem, man. I appreciate you coming on for sure. I actually heard, I was on the internet today and read that you are going to be on Chris Jericho's podcast.
Yeah, I'm making the podcast rounds again. So I've gone from Talk is Jericho to Monday Night Shaw.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. At least, like, from my standpoint, I don't know that any of my other guests have ever been on Talk is Jericho.
Wow, I'm a first.
Yeah, that's awesome. So have you guys recorded that already, or is that set to be recorded in the future?
Yeah, it was recorded actually right at the beginning of the year. So I think February we recorded. But due to COVID, we kind of had to put that on the back burner. So thank God we've got a bit of a tour coming up for CWE, and I guess this is the time that Chris decided to release it.
That's pretty awesome. So I mean, Chris is like a Winnipeg guy as well, right? So have you have you got much interaction with him? Have you talked to him a bunch of times, or?
Not a whole lot, no. Just on the podcast, but it was pretty cool to have Chris Jericho calling you to have a chat for a little bit, so I popped for that.
Yeah, no, I can only imagine. He Homeboy's the first ever undisputed champion of all time, right?
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, 100%. So you mentioned that you do have a CWE tour coming up. Do you want to just do a quick plug on that?
Most definitely. So Canadian Wrestling's Elite is Canada's only touring brand. And we do, 30 show tours across Canada all the way from Vancouver to Ottawa. And unfortunately, due to COVID and some of the restrictions put in place by the different provinces, we've had to scale back the tour quite a bit. So we're only able to do the Manitoba and Alberta dates. So we will be out in Alberta, I believe Thursday, October 22nd, we start the tour, a 5-show loop in Calgary. And then the next day we're in Red Deer, Edmonton. St. Albert, just outside Edmonton. And then we do Grand Prairie as well. And then I think we start heading home. So, that's what we're doing for Alberta. And then Manitoba, we're in Winnipeg and Morden.
Right on. I've been to a few CWE shows that have happened in Alberta, and they're always a good time. They're always top-notch wrestling action going on. So, yeah, if you're in any of those cities that were just mentioned by AJ, then, make sure that you get out there and check that out.
Most definitely. Thank you.
Yeah, I've actually I've never been to Winnipeg, but I imagine that they have a rabid fan base there too. What are the restrictions like in Winnipeg? I know in Alberta we're limited to 100 folks in the crowd.
Yeah, so we were at the same capacity limit until recently. We started declaring a code orange because our numbers are going up pretty quick. So as of now, after as of 11 p.m., casinos and bars and anywhere that serves alcohol have to shut down. So we're just kind of taking it day by day. But we're at a code orange. So that's restricting things, making masks mandatory in public places and stuff like that. So, we're just we're crossing our fingers that everything pulls through and goes forward according to plan.
Oh, I wasn't aware that there was a code orange thing going on. So does that mean that right now there's no shows running until they clear it back to a code normal or whatever it's called?
Yeah, so tentatively the shows are still a go. Everything is moving forward as planned, but it seems to change almost daily or weekly, the restrictions and things like that. So it's as of now, things are still a go, but it's take it as it comes kind of thing.
Yeah. The whole COVID thing has been extremely frustrating. Very frustrating.
Yeah.
Is there, have you had any positives come out of the COVID thing for you?
Oh, that's a good question.
Is there any silver linings?
Man, just maybe that Serb check. No, no. You know what? It's given me the opportunity to really get into the ring, and we have the Elite Wrestling Academy out here, so I've had the opportunity to get in the ring quite a bit and work with the young kids that are coming up through the school. But there's definitely been more negatives than positives, I would say, with all the pandemic going on.
Yeah, 100%. So, you mentioned you just mentioned that you're training at a school there now. Is that school? Do you own that school?
Yeah, so I've kind of been the head trainer, just kind of locally here for the last couple of years, and we decided in August of this year to we found a better building and something that suits what we need. So we decided to kind of go full press with all the advertising and stuff like that for the school. So we started this in August of last year, and we've had August of this year. We just kind of went, full on with the school, and we've got a building and whatnot. So it's run through Danny Duggan and, tied into Canadian Wrestling's Elite. We call it the Elite Wrestling Academy. And so I'm one of the head trainers alongside Danny Duggan, Mentalo, Shane Madison, and Marty Gold.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That sounds like a stacked lineup. So, what kind of things can folks expect if they sign up to join your academy? Like day one wrestling training, like what are you going to be doing?
So day one, day one is generally just an orientation. It's get to meet the trainers. We get to introduce ourselves, let them know some of our credentials. I don't let guys get into the ring on the first day because I want them to understand that being in the ring is a privilege and that, it's not a right that everybody should have. So that's generally the first day's orientation. But once they finally do get in the ring, then it's drills and it's calisthenics and squats and all that fun stuff to make sure that their bodies are ready to deal with the impact and the blows that we end up dealing with in the ring.
Yeah, 100%. Have you had any students graduate the program and begin wrestling yet?
Yeah, so we've had our most recent graduate would be Bryce Bentley, who was just out in Calgary and Edmonton, for RCW this past weekend. And, I've had, me personally, Sammy Peppers is one of my guys, Kevin O'Doyle, Jeremy Joseph, who's now known as Sweet Daddy Soul, Drag Neil out here. I've got several kids that have kind of come up under my guidance, and I'd say Bryce Bentley is probably the first, official Elite Wrestling Academy graduate. But before that, we were, I was still training and loosely, tied into the CWE and stuff like that. So
I've definitely I've wrestled with Sweet Daddy Soul, and I enjoy wrestling with him tremendously.
Yeah, he's very athletic. I believe training in Mexico right now too. So he's looking to do big things, hopefully. Yeah,
I heard that you had a stint down in Mexico.
I sure did. Yeah. Back in 2012, I won a little tryout thing that Danny had hosted up here with Conan. I got picked out of the bunch to go down and take part in the training, and they gave me a place to stay and showed me all the trainers and got me booked on shows and stuff like that. So yeah, it was in 2012.
Did you enjoy it down in Mexico? Was it like a big culture shock?
It was definitely a culture shock, just because, you're in Mexico City. So it was crowded. It was people trying to sell you things on, every street corner. There's children trying to sell you things to make money just because it's a poor country. So, it was different in that aspect. But overall, a tremendous experience. I've, met people that I made friends with down there and still are friends with to this day. And, it was a good experience overall. Some of those training rings down there, though, are like boxing rings, so my body did not like me when I got home from there. But it was definitely a good experience overall.
Yeah, can you kind of describe the difference in style between Canada and Mexico, and like the sort of things that you were learning down there, and what kind of things in Mexico did you find to be the most challenging to pick up?
So it was, it's definitely a whole lot faster down there. And, with the training too, is interesting because you're doing a lot of calisthenics and drills that are going to blow you up and tire you out. And, with like the elevation of just the city itself, like you're just, the air is breathing the air and is different over there. So, I found myself, luckily I was in better shape at the time, so I wasn't dying. I heard some other Canadians, perhaps from Alberta, had gone down there prior to me and were puking during or after the training. So I didn't puke, so I've got that going for me. But yeah, it's definitely a faster pace, and they work work a different side of the body than we're used to up here. So being able to kind of do both things and adapt and, getting to see the audiences still believe in the wrestling down there. It's not like here where, fans are quite exposed to the business. So it was just different, and if I'm speaking to the style, it was definitely faster and a lot tougher to figure, you have to figure things out on your own because, most of those people down there speak Spanish. So.
Yeah. Have you had the opportunity to wrestle in any other countries? I mean, I know you've wrestled in the United States. Is there a difference between wrestling in the United States or Canada, or is that pretty similar?
Yeah. So I've done Canada, the U.S., and Mexico thus far. I definitely say there's a difference in the sense that, like I said, the people down there believe in what's going on. And, I remember just leaving a show and I was walking with Conan, just leaving a show. And I don't think Conan was even on the show, but he is the Hulk Hogan of Mexico, essentially. So just standing next to Conan, people were asking me for my autograph and I hadn't even been on the show. We just went to watch a TV taping that night. So, the people believe it down there and it's, they approach it and they take it differently than the fans do here. And it's a lot faster. It's a lot more, flips and dives and things like that. But, all very entertaining in the end.
Yeah. What about like the United States?
So the U.S., I've been going down there probably quite frequently since 2005. And you know what? Oddly enough, it's pretty similar to what you'd see up here. You've got your crews with shitty guys on it, and you've got your crews with good guys, and it's fairly similar, except they have the luxury of being pretty close as far as driving distance goes to get from show to show. So if I want to, from Winnipeg, go work somewhere else in Canada, I've got to drive 6 hours to Regina or 12 or 13 out to Calgary or Edmonton.
Yeah.
So, and over there, you know what I mean? They're the proximity, they're a little closer to each other. So some of the drives aren't so bad. You can make that 12-hour drive and be like, across a good portion of the country and wrestling in a different place. So
that is definitely one of the things. Like, we've done shows for RCW all around Alberta and stuff, but the only two like main like cities is Edmonton and Calgary. And then, if you want to go to BC, Vancouver is a good ways away from here, and then in the other direction you got Saskatchewan and Manitoba, and they're also a good ways away. It's not like, we're not like New York and Philadelphia and Boston where it's all just like a few hours between each other, and
definitely
20 different wrestling companies promoting or whatnot.
Yep, that's very true.
I know you guys, the CWE, they recently did a documentary about it that was on the news there in Manitoba. In fact, I even looked it up and I watched it just before we came on here. And one of the things I learned about you was that you were in a horrible car accident.
I sure was, yeah. Back in 2015, I got into a head-on car collision. So I ended up fracturing my pelvis, shattering my hip, and I broke a wrist, a hand, a nose, and I kind of went through the windshield and peeled an eyelid as well. So it was pretty serious. I was in like ICU for a little while, and upon waiting for surgery, I managed to get a blood clot that went up to, almost caught to my heart and stuff like that. So I was in hospital for a good 6 weeks.
That does not sound like it was a fun time.
No, definitely wasn't. Have you ever had an enema?
I don't know, so probably not.
Yeah, so that's where you're constipated, you can't go, and they got to make sure they get all that out of you. So,
okay.
I don't recommend it. So
no,
it was not the most fun time, but I'm generally a positive person. So if I can take anything out of that, it taught me that life is short and you need to appreciate what you've got now and just take advantage of the opportunities in front of you.
100%. Yeah, that sounds like a good mindset. So in the documentary, you mentioned you were off for about a year and then returned to Alberta. When you made your return, was that for RCW?
It sure was, yeah. I think Big Jess was likely my first match back after about 14 months, I think.
And how did that go?
You know what? It went well. I wasn't sure how I would feel because the doctors told me that like you've got no cartilage left in your hips. So every time you run or there's impact, it's just bone rubbing against bone. So, you're going to have issues. And they said you probably shouldn't even run because it's going to cause issue. But like I said, YOLO, you only live once. I didn't want to just sit by and end it like that. So I opted to get some work in with RCW. Luckily, Steven Stiles or Steven Iwaschuk was gracious enough to have me out, and it went well. I don't think I didn't kill myself by any means, but I was able to get through it and not have any serious injury. And from there on, I've probably gone on to the busiest schedule I think I've ever had.
Well, I mean, there you go, right? Like, that's a heck of a comeback story, man. Like, really great.
Yeah. I'm very lucky to be alive even. So, I try to take advantage of the trips like that to Alberta and stuff like that. It's, it's fun to do these things, and I'm glad I still can.
Yeah. Were you in the car when the car crash with Psychosis happened?
No, I was not. I was at the venue setting up. So Danny, Psychosis, and Robin Lakeem were just running a little behind. I think Danny was doing some last minute stuff in the town prior, and we started driving. It was like May, and it was snowing. Like, there was snow on the road, and they were now really running behind and rushing to get to a town called Kirkland Lake, Ontario. And Robin attempted to pass a vehicle and just slipped, and they hit the ditch. And yeah, it was a pretty serious thing. Yeah,
I heard that Psychosis like went into like full hero mode and saved some people and stuff.
Psychosis and Robin, yeah, they definitely. Danny was still in his seatbelt and upside down in the ditch, essentially. So he was trapped underwater, and thankfully, praise God, Psychosis and Robin were both able to get their bearings about themselves, get out, and pull Danny out. But it was a freaky situation.
Yeah, no kidding. One of the things I wanted to ask you about is you're quite a big fella.
Yeah.
And have you had challenges like with the athletics of wrestling, and how do you handle those?
So aside from being a little bit slower, so since the car accident, I've probably gained about like 120 pounds. Like, it's been pretty bad. There's a point where you come back and you're like, well, I think you go through a bit of a depression phase throughout all of that. And, after physio was done, I probably sat there and wasn't sure what my future was, period. So you kind of go through a depression phase and you eat those feelings. So I've gained a lot of weight in the last 5 years. But luckily, aside from being a little bit slower than I was 120 pounds ago, I'm still able to backflip, and I'm still able to run and move, almost as well as I used to be at 280 pounds. So there's definitely challenges. I'm very grateful that my knees haven't given out yet. Those are things that I worry about in the long run. But luckily, I've been pretty blessed, aside from other freak accidents like a car accident, thing like that. But as far as inside the ring and wrestling goes, I've been lucky about not getting injured or seriously hurt. So as a big guy, I'm still able to move around. I'm just lucky that I played sports as a kid, and I'm just an athletic person.
Right on, bud.
Yeah, man.
Another thing, because I told Metal yesterday that I was going to be interviewing you, and the Omen, Gabriel Lestat, and yes. Metal. And Omen, he told me to ask you about your T-shirt. And he said that you have a T-shirt for sale that has a bunch of hidden messages on it and whatnot, and that there's a story behind this.
Yeah, so myself and Kevy Chevy, we comprise the team of the Big Sexy Beasts, and we began teaming together in 2004 and have pretty much been teaming on and off since then. So we have a T-shirt that is for sale. So if you hit me up, I'm sure that I can get you a T-shirt, but I can't give away the secrets just yet. You have to buy the shirt, read the subtle meanings inside the Big Sexy Beast word, and then you can ask me the meanings of what's in there, and then I can explain it to you, because it gets a little vulgar at some points.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I see how it is then. It's just trying to get me to, like... He's trying to make me look bad. And
I think he's trying to incriminate Chevy a little bit, and I'm all for incriminating Chevy, but maybe I'll save it for off the podcast.
Fair enough. So you mentioned that you've tag teamed with Chevy, and I know that you have tag team with Kevin O'Doyle. I had him on the podcast just fairly recently, and he definitely mentioned that you were one of the main influences in his career and whatnot. So would you consider which one of those would you consider to be like your top tag team?
You know, it's
or would it be someone completely different from Chevy or Kevy?
No, it
Kevin
would be.
O'Doyle,
It would be.
pardon me.
Yeah, it would be. It would be both. Those are my two major tag team partners over the years. You know, it's a different dynamic with both of them. With Kevin O'Doyle, it's kind of a teacher-student relationship, and to his credit, he's. Well, he hasn't surpassed the teacher, but he's gotten very good, you know, in a very short amount of time. He's limited physically on certain things, but he's found a way to hide those weaknesses and accentuate the positives. He's got a great character. He has a great voice. You know, he commands attention when he walks into the room. So he's found ways to get himself over. So with him and I, like I said, it's more of a teacher-student thing. With me and Chevy, man, we're like, I don't want to say soulmates, but like, for lack of a better term, soulmates. Like, he's a year older than me, but our birthdays were like a day apart. Like, he's April 13th, I'm April 14th. You know, we just, a lot of the same things in common. You know, I can look at him and he'd be thinking the same thing that I'm thinking. Like, we have just a different relationship than myself and O'Doyle do. And him and I are very, very similar in the way we work, where we're both very athletic and able to do flips and dives and, you know, things that guys our size should not be able to. So I love teaming with both guys. I find me and Chevy, just from teaming for so long, have a chemistry that, you know, is just not matched. Just because me and O'Doyle haven't teamed as long as me and Chevy have, you know? Yeah,
that makes sense. You mentioned that you earlier that you've been a teacher and whatnot, and I just wanted to know, like, what do you enjoy more, like being a wrestler as a performer, or being like a teacher and showing other people how to wrestle, or what are the perks of each and what are the cons?
Yeah, so some days you like, you know, one more than the other. Some days you're wrestling in front of no people and making no money, and you know, you prefer the teaching. And then some days, you know, the teaching's just not going the way you want it to, and you just want to be in the ring. So I enjoy both immensely. I love that I'm able to travel quite a bit and do what I want and work with many people across the world. But there's just something about teaching and, you know, taking a young mind and molding it and having them not understand what you're doing or why they're doing it when they get started. And then, you know, like throughout the day, they start, you know, figuring things out. And then a week later, now they're doing exactly what they didn't know how to do a week prior. And, you know, seeing that, you know, it's a different feeling than being in the ring. So there's the adrenaline of being in front of a large crowd and getting a reaction. And then there's, you know, being almost like a proud parent and seeing your kids graduate, you know what I mean? So, there's two different feelings to both. I love both. Being able to teach, though, I think has a little more longevity than the in-ring stuff.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense. During the documentary, I believe it was called the Ring Warriors.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to let everybody know, like, if you haven't watched Ring Warriors, look it up. I found it in like 2 minutes. Simple Google search. I was like CWE documentary, and it was easy to find and cool to watch. But it seems very much like you're sort of like Danny Duggan's like secondhand man when it comes to CWE.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering, like, how did your relationship with Danny start?
So I met Danny when we were 15 years old through backyard wrestling, actually.
Oh.
I was young and I knew I wanted to wrestle, but had no idea how to pursue it. So I searched the internet in its infancy back then, came across a company. It was called Garwood Pro Wrestling, and it was some dude who actually had like this little dinky like 10 by 10 ring in his garage.
That sounds incredibly small.
Oh, it was super small. And like, but for me as a 15-year-old kid, I was like, oh my God, there's a ring with ropes and and whatnot. So we were doing little shows on the weekends, and like I was charging my friends to come check out these shows. And I mean, they were shit shows. They weren't good, but it was just a bunch of teenagers, screwing around. And we had like girls there, and there was a hot tub. And like, man, I don't know how I was 16 and able to go to the vendor and buy beer. Like, it was, it was a lot of shit that we probably should have been doing, but it was a great time. And that's how I met Danny Duggan. So from there, I started training and figure out how to do that. And he followed suit shortly after.
And have you guys just been in cahoots ever since?
Pretty much, yeah, man. Pretty much coming up in the local scene, and then pretty much it. Yeah, we've been buddies since, and traveling. I'm pretty much his travel partner. I help where I can as far as CWE goes. I like dealing with the the show aspect of the production and the ring and making sure everything's where it needs to be.
Cool. Have you had any input into the actual like booking of shows and stuff?
Yeah, we've had there's times where we're on the road for a long period of time, and we discuss different stories and different things that we'd like to do and like to see and so forth. I've definitely had a hand in some of it.
Solid. So it sounds like you've had your sort of hand in a lot of different baskets. Have you tried any of the other ancillary like wrestling roles? Like, have you ever done refereeing or ring announcing or sound or I don't know, anything that's wrestling centric but not actually wrestling?
I have I've refereed I think one match as a special guest, and it was super fun. I love ring announcing, but I've never done it. I should say I have done it when we don't have a ring announcer. So there's some times at shows where I'll be in the back playing the music and then announcing the guy or myself even, and then walking through the curtain and wrestling. So, sometimes, sometimes people no show or, people don't make it and you have to kind of make do. So I've definitely done those things, but not officially ring announced, not officially reffed. But yeah, the music and all that. Oh yeah. There's times where I'm playing the guy's music, trying to call a match, getting the ring ready, and then literally gearing up, calling my match, and just figuring it out in the ring. It just is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, on independent wrestling shows, there's always a lot that can go wrong, and usually a lot that does.
Yep.
And I just like, how do you handle those situations when it's like just one thing after another just coming at you, and you have no choice but to deal with it? Is you just deal with it and try and be positive?
Yeah, so wrestling has definitely taught me patience more than anything. It's taught me patience that you can't change some of these things, and you just need to grin and bear them, and just appreciate the situation you're dealing with. I mean, we've been stranded in the mountains with a ring truck that's broken down. We've been in car accidents before getting to shows. We've gone off the road due to snow, and, we've been late to shows and speeding to get there. Like, it's, if anything can go wrong on a tour or on a show, so it generally will go wrong. So it's taught me patience and to just figure out a solution. And, you do the best with what you have, essentially.
Yeah. And I mean, I remember recently Brutus the Barber Beefcake, I guess, decided to just leave the tour and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then that kind of thing has got to be frustrating for you as well. But
so it's frustrating because now you're going to these towns and these people are generally paying to see a headliner like Brutus. So frustrating in that aspect. But like Brutus himself, I rode with him most of the tour, and I have nothing but good things to say about him. It's funny, we talk a bit about it on Jericho's podcast, which comes out Friday, but we talk a bit about it. But yeah, Brutus was great to me. He was like, every night he was buying beers for the boys and telling stories and whatnot. You know what I mean? So I have nothing but nice things to say about him. And he was a nice guy, but him and Danny had a bit of an issue, and that's their business. So
I'm glad to hear that. I mean, there is a lot of like people in wrestling who sometimes just like heads can get hot, and it's definitely like, I mean, I know that me and Squig have had our differences and a couple of blow ups at each other or whatnot, and
yeah,
But eventually, like, you know, like we're all good people, and we're all here to have a good time and entertain people, and, you know, do what we love with our buddies, right?
Yeah, that's what it is, you know. And you can't stay mad forever. You know, you got to just got to get past those things. And at the end of the day, it's wrestling, man. We're not getting rich off it at this level. You know, it should be fun. If it's not fun, then what are you doing it for?
Yeah, for sure. Another thing, I know we're just kind of jumping around here. I just wanted to know if, like, Danny pops up a lot on, like, Monday Night Raw and stuff. I was just wondering, have you had any opportunities to be on WWE or take part in any of their events?
I have not. I thought about sending in some of my stuff for the last time they were in Winnipeg. They were in Winnipeg at the beginning of the year, but no, I haven't. The closest I've gotten as far as WWE goes, I did like a little tryout evaluation camp in Iowa in 2013, but that was about it. I was in front of Jim Ross and Gerald Briscoe, but no, I haven't tried. I'm sure like I could, and I'm sure I know enough people there that, you know, something could happen, but not as of yet.
Yeah, and you have had the opportunity to be in the ring with a lot of people that, you know, a lot of people know, like some name guys and stuff. Who would you consider like the top 3 name guys that you've wrestled?
Oh, that's a good question.
And why? Because, like, you know, are they the best guy because they're the most famous, or are they the best guy because they were the best in the ring, or the best guy because they were cool backstage? Like,
yeah, so I back in 2010 we were touring quite a bit, not as long tours, but, you know, every month we were touring, and we had the opportunity to work a lot with Billy Gunn.
Oh, solid.
And yeah, there was a company called WFX here locally, and they were running TV tapings every 3 weeks. So we would pair that up with a tour and use some of the names that were already kind of in the city. So Billy Gunn and Road Dogg, who I was a huge mark for back in the day when they were, you know, Attitude Era, and I was a kid watching on TV. So getting the opportunity to travel and, you know, work with Billy Gunn, work with Road Dogg, guys that I grew up idolizing on TV, and they were just like the nicest guys outside of the ring. Billy was always so willing to just try and help and give advice, and so like they might top the list for me just because they were, you know, working with them was a cakewalk every night. And then on top of that, you'd get stories and you'd get advice, and they were just 2 of the coolest dudes to hang around. You know, so it's like you always hear the story, like never meet your idols, but getting to meet them was super cool, and getting to work with them was great. It's a little more recent, but Juventud Guerrera was, man, I used to watch him in WCW and love the cruiserweights. And he was on our most recent tour that we were able to do, and him and I just clicked, man. He was in what we deemed the party bus, because we had a long vehicle that was on the road, and so Hoovy was in the party bus. And if you're in the party bus with Hoovy, you know, you're drinking IPAs every night, and you're having a little smoke, and you know, just getting to the next town. And so yeah, I definitely formed a nice bond with Hoovy. So much so that he was going to run a show, and I was supposed to be, before this COVID shit hit, booked in Mexico to work a show for Hoovy, celebrating his 20 years in the business. So I unfortunately did not make that. But yeah, so Juventud was definitely right near the top. And I'm trying to think. Yeah, I've really bonded with like the Ring of Honor guys, like Vinny Marseglia, TK O'Ryan, Brian Johnson, like those guys, man, just the nicest guys. Happy to be up here, happy to be working with the guys, always full of advice and cheery, and now like, man, I can't say enough good. There's been so many guys, but those are the ones that probably jump off the top of the list.
Yeah, that's awesome for sure. I just going back to like the thing about stories and whatnot. We had the Godfather come in very recently.
Nice.
And he was super cool. And after the show, there was like an after party, and it was at a VIP section of the strip club. It was like, I think it was Heavy Metal and Big Jess were there, and Zach Mercury was there, Knight was there, and I was there, and we all just kind of sat around and listened to Godfather tell stories for a couple hours, and it was awesome. It was cool.
Yeah. Did you get, how many lap dances did you get?
None. No, I was I was very, very broke.
Oh, okay. Well, Squig, remember this for the next time. Buy the man a lap dance.
Yeah, it was weird. Squig wasn't there. You should have come.
Oh man, bring the girlfriend. Go have a good time.
Yeah. But yeah, no, like that was definitely one of the cooler experiences with one of those name fellas that I've had.
Definitely. Yeah, for sure.
Another thing I wanted to ask you about, just sort of out of the Winnipeg scene, because I'm sure Winnipeg is similar to Alberta in where there's more than one federation. And I know that over here in Alberta, we have like PWA, Monster Pro Wrestling, and we have the RCW. And there's kind of an unwritten rule where you're not allowed to wrestle for the other companies.
Yep.
And from what I hear, that's not really a thing in Winnipeg. And how do you guys go about skirting that?
Yeah, so it first off, I think it's like an archaic and kind of a bullshit thing to tell somebody they can't go work for another company. But I understand that that's the way things were done years ago, and people are still stuck in their old ways. But you know what? It used to be like that in Winnipeg, probably. Oh man, I don't know, probably 10, 15 years ago, we were like that, and it got to a point where myself, Danny Duggan, Kevy Chevy, and a guy named Stefan Epic. We just kind of got tired of it, and we decided we were working for PCW, the company here locally, and they were very much about exclusivity. And we got to a point where we're like, man, we don't want to be relegated to this. We want to try and work as many places and as much as we can and whatnot. So we kind of stepped away, and then, the rules were still in effect. But over time, it got to a point where I think PCW kind of lost a lot of its top stars because, they were just running one monthly show in a bar in front of the same fans, the same, 100 or 120 fans or so. And CWE at the time was trying to tour. We were running TV, like we were on TV here locally. And I think a lot of the top guys just said, hey, man, like we want to get on that train. So a lot of them jumped ship. And I think that left a lot of mid to low card guys to work for PCW. And I think it got to a point where, like, if PCW wanted to continue or at the very least put on decent shows, they were going to need to figure something out. So that slowly kind of got abolished. And like as it is now, I think pretty much everybody's allowed to work wherever they want. I think PCW kind of still doesn't like one or two companies here locally. But, for the most part, everybody is still able to work wherever they want here. And it doesn't affect things. Like I like the thought process that you can only see, the Canadian Goose in Real Canadian Wrestling doesn't really hold any weight anymore. I've done shows where I've wrestled at the bar for PCW and, met new fans who liked my stuff and then ended up buying merch and then seeing me at a CWE show because they enjoyed me and they saw me at the bar and vice versa. I've had people come to PCW shows based on seeing me at CWE. My most recent example, Alberta, CWE rolls through there a couple times a year. Mm-hmm. I had a couple people attend the Edmonton show this past Saturday that don't normally attend RCW shows, but attended them because I was there and I made a fan out of them from the CWE shows. So, the idea is just archaic. It's old. It's done. It's played out, I think. And, the more work everybody's getting, the more they're going to improve. The more they're working with different people, the more they're going to improve. So, especially now, man, there's not a lot of work going around.
100%. Now, is that just your opinion from like a worker standpoint? And like, do you feel like Danny probably feels the same from the standpoint of a promoter? I mean, maybe it's not fair for me to ask you what you think Danny feels, but
no, man, no, that's a good question too. So I kind of I've been pretty close to Danny and I've seen the promoter side of things and I understand the promoter side of things. I also understand like the wrestler side of things. So I can see the conversations on both, but for me as a promoter, I'm just worried about guys showing up. You know what I mean? Like there's times where, you run shows and guys just don't show up or they're late or they're not,
that's not
sending in. No, yeah, they're not sending in promos or they're not doing, there's certain guys that just go above and beyond for the show and there's guys that don't. And if I'm a promoter, I want access to all the guys that are willing to go above and beyond for my show. It just, from the promoter side, no, man, Danny's very much buys into the idea that guys should be able to work wherever they want. Just be, if I book you, I want you on my show and, please be there on time and work hard. That's I can I won't speak for Danny, but I can definitely speak for Danny in that aspect that I know that's exactly how he feels.
Well, I mean, that makes sense. Like, it all makes sense to me. Like, I mean, from my perspective, I'm just a wrestler, and I'm happy to wrestle wherever. So I'm happy to ring announce wherever, whatever. It's just a weird thing, I can't. It's hard to put together why it is like a thing that people see as something that's beneficial. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's it's like I said, I think people are just stuck in their old ways, and that's the way that it's like being taught one thing all your life, and then to find out that what you were taught all your life is maybe not the right way. You're gonna have a hard time adapting to that. So if you're taught all your life that exclusivity in wrestling is the way it needs to be, well, that's not exactly the case, and maybe it's time to see that that's not the case, and it's possible to be able to book who you want and for guys to work wherever they want, and at the end of the day, it's up to the promoter to use who they want, and it's up to the wrestlers to take the bookings that they want. So, but I think it should be open to everybody.
Solid. So I'm going to give you a little two-parter here, and I just want to know, so far in wrestling, what has been your favorite experience, and what has been your least favorite experience?
Favorite experience? Oh man, there's so many. Getting to wrestle in Mexico, like for 3,000 people.
Oh wow, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, I lucked out and was able to work a match down there for one of the AAA TV tapings, and so that was super cool. Favorite moments though, just traveling and being able to do this, and I make most of my living wrestling, so being able to say that I can do that and rely on wrestling to pay my bills is pretty cool. Worst moment, oh man, there have been some just god-awful moments on tour where everything's going wrong and trucks are breaking and, nobody's, venues are having issues and guys are no-showing and things like that. That'd probably be the worst, I think. Dealing with some promoters, can be a bit of a hassle, but that would probably be the worst, I think. I'm sure I could think of more, but that's off the top of my head. Okay,
cool. And I'm going to give you just one more question here, and then we'll let you plug your social media and whatever else you wanted to plug there. Who are the top 3 guys in Canada that you have yet to face but would like to?
Oh man, good question. So top 3 in Canada I have not been in the ring with. Johnny Devine jumps out as one. He's a guy, he helped train. He didn't train me, but we got to work out quite a bit with him while he was in Winnipeg in 2005, and he definitely taught me a lot of things and steered me in the right direction. He still is a phenomenal worker, and I would love the opportunity to be in the ring and learn from him. Michael Richard Blaze might top the list as a guy that I've not really had the chance to work with much. I got to meet him a couple months ago at the Top Talent Wrestling Academy in Edmonton there. And just knowing and seeing the things that guy can do, and being a big guy who likes to work with small guys and can take a lot of their stuff, he's probably a guy that I would put atop the list. I'm trying to think where else. Kind of leaving it to Western Canada, but who can I throw in there? You know what? I'll throw Alex Zwicker into the mix.
Alex Zwicker. Okay. Yeah. I didn't see that one coming.
No, I didn't. Yeah. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. Because I think I pride myself on being able to get in the ring and get good matches out of most people. So I feel like I could take her, and, we could have tell a good story and have ourselves a really good match.
Okay.
There are like heavy metal. I love working with metal. He's in the best shape of his life. He's looking great, working great.
Oh yeah, he's
but
fantastic.
I've been in the ring. Yeah, I've been in the ring with him already. So, and he's working 60 minutes these days. I can't last that long. I don't want to be in the ring. When he's doing that. Maybe when he gets a little fatter, we'll tie it up. But Metal's always fun to work with. Jess, Big Jess, those guys. I love those guys to death. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, those will probably be my three, man. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that must mean that you're totally cool with like intergender wrestling, then, eh?
I am completely fine with intergender wrestling. I'm completely fine with any type of wrestling, whether it's comedy, serious, hardcore, if it's done right and makes sense. That is my biggest thing. So, I'm probably not gonna, if I'm gonna be in a match with Alex Zwicker, I'm probably not gonna punch her in the face because, society dictates that's probably not a good thing or what they want to see. So, it can be done right. Everything can be done right if you know how to do it right. And unfortunately, sometimes guys don't. But I'm all for intergender wrestling.
Yeah, have you wrestled many women before?
Not many. So I had a match with Bambi Hall in Moose Jaw once.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I had another match with a woman named Kara Noya. That was down in North Dakota. But otherwise, not a whole lot of women's intergender wrestling. No.
No. Have you ever wrestled a small person like a midget?
I sure have. Yeah, I was body slammed by a midget back in 2003 on a tour for.
Oh my God! This midget must have been on some serious steroids.
Well, I was a lot smaller. I was 17 at the time, so I was much smaller than I am now. But his name was Bad Boy Brian out of Minnesota. He was up to do a tour for Ernie Todd's Canadian Wrestling Federation, and I've managed to work with a little person as well.
That's awesome. I had a match with Big Bruce.
Nice.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was very interesting, for sure. I mean, I'd had like triple threat matches with him and tag team matches against him and stuff, but I'd never gone one-on-one with him, and then we eventually did, and I liked it, but, could have been better, for sure.
Everything could use improvements.
Yeah. That's one of the things I've noticed about every time like I come back and I watch my matches and stuff, and I'm always like, oh, that could have been better. That could have been better. That was bad. I'm not sure why. But
yeah, that's why we still train to this day. Once you're in the ring, doesn't mean training stops. So
yeah, 100%. Like I talked to Kevin about it, and I just said like the idea that you go to wrestling school for 3 months and then you graduate and you're a wrestler. It's just that's not really a great thing. You got to continue to sharpen your skills, right?
You're always learning, man. Even I'm almost 20 years in now. We're always learning.
100%. Like I had my the 2-year anniversary of my first match was yesterday, and it's like nice. I'm still nowhere near where I'd like to be. Like
right.
I'm still really, really like considered probably one of the the worst guys on the cards and stuff. But improving. But that's one of the things is like you have to go to training and consistently do it in order to improve. You can't just be like, oh yeah, I put in my 3 months and now I'm on the card.
Yeah, you got to get your reps in. It doesn't matter how new or how long you've been around. Everybody needs to get their reps in. And even your cardio, like ring cardio, is so. You can't just go to the gym and get ring cardio. You can't just get that, up your ring cardio, because you can't go to the gym and fall down and get up and pick somebody up and run and all these things. So you just to have your ring cardio stay up, you need to be in the ring and doing things. So
yeah, 100%. And it's so hard too. Like I've been dealing with an injury, so I've had to take time away from like training and being in the ring and stuff. And then when I finally did like go back, it was rough. Like, whoa, big time. But, like, you just know, like, you're like, okay, today's rough. Tomorrow's probably going to be rough. Maybe the rest of the week's going to be rough. But sooner or later, things are going to get better. And then we're going to start doing things that are more challenging. And it's going to be rough again. But
it is what it is, man. You can only put the work in and get better.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So, as we were discussing training, let's get one more plug for your big training school there out in Winnipeg. And then we will plug your social media accounts.
Yeah, definitely. So we are the Elite Wrestling Academy based out of Winnipeg, affiliated with Canadian Wrestling's Elite, which is the only national touring brand here in Canada from Vancouver all the way to Ottawa. You can search us up on Facebook under Elite Wrestling Academy. If anybody is in the area or wants to pursue anything as far as professional wrestling goes in Central Canada, hit us up. You can hit us up at info@cwecanada.ca, or you can find me on any of my social media platforms, which I'm going to plug right away.
Right on. Do you guys run like mini camps, like
Yes.
a weekend tryouts or anything?
Yep. So probably every 2 or 3 months, we're going to look at, running a mini camp just for people that are on the fence and don't want to fully commit to the whole year or to a class. They can come and, get a little taste of what we do with no commitment. And you can just, if you're paying attention to the Facebook page, you'll see it announced there. But as of right now, our next intake of students will be in February of 2021. So every 6 months, we're looking at, taking in new students.
Okay, solid. And let's get your personal social media plugs out of the way.
Yeah, for sure. So on Twitter, I'm at Crusher AJ, all one word. On Facebook, you can search me up at AJ Sanchez LaRock. And I do have a shirt on Pro Wrestling Tees. So if you look up CWE Canada, you can find the latest AJ Sanchez shirt on ProWrestlingTees.com. And I think that pretty much covers it. CWECanada.ca, search up Canadian Wrestling's Elite, because chances are we will be in a city near you.
Solid. Are you on the Instagram?
I am on Instagram. I think I'm at Crusher AJ. That's my least used social media, so feel free. It's more of a personal, family thing. But you can still add me there too.
Oh, okay, fair. I have kind of fallen in love with Instagram. It's my favorite of the social media platforms, just because there's a lot less like heated discussions and whatnot going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I enjoy those heated discussions, but if I'm not involved, then I can watch them from afar. I love drama, but from afar, not when I'm involved.
Fair enough. Well, AJ, you've gone from being on Monday Night Shaw, and you were on Chris Jericho's podcast, Talk is Jericho. So you're the king of podcasts here. I appreciate you so much coming on my show here and talking all about wrestling with me for a while.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, and I appreciate what you do.
Yeah, no problem, and hope to see you again soon.
Nova Scotia